Hello everybody, Pinstripe here, and welcome back to the developer's commentary for Pinstripe's mod version 2.0. Today we're going to go over the island of Saustralia, going through missions 6 up to mission 10. And this of course does include mission 8, which is a problematic level, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. So starting off this island, we have mission 6 ammo takeover. Now this mission kind of follows on from the first mod in that the enemies are all placed in the center of the map and the player's pigs are everywhere else. And it's your job to cross through the minefield some way and collect everything that happens to be in all of the buildings. There are some ways that you can get around this issue. You can actually jump through the mines if you are careful enough. Through the area closest to where the super airburst would normally be. But the main concept for this mission is that your recon team in Saustralia has stumbled upon what appears to be the enemy's main supply dump. And basically, it's up to you to either blow up all the ammo, collect everything that's there if you want to, if you're brave enough to go into the center of the map where all the enemies are. Previously, this mission did have a medal in the first version of this mod, but this time around, it's just about collecting everything that happens to be there and destroying the enemies in front of you. This was one of the first missions, in fact, it was the first mission through editing that I suffered an emulator crash in that if the player would take their turn on this mission, their first turn, the emulator would just go ahead and crash, and that was due to having too many crates. So initially, there were meant to be way more crates, but I had to tone it down a bit. Which was a shame because it kind of gave away, it took away from that idea of there being a supply dump, because you expect there to be plenty of, health crates and weapon crates and whatnot. But the enemies on this map are not too difficult to dispatch. You have a gunner, an orderly, and 2 snipers. And seeing as we are moving on to Australia, you expect the enemies to get harder. And of course there is an engineer in there as well, because why not? Initially, I wanted to make new buildings, or at least change up the ones that exist in the level already to look different to what you normally see on the vanilla mission 6, but that also played into the crashing issues due to the fact that it's all down to memory. 99% of the time, the crashes that occur in the game from these sort of changes are down to memory, because the game will either not load the map entirely, or if it does load the map, then it will crash if the player takes their turn or uses a bazooka or uses a heavy weapons that just becomes too much for the game and it ends up crashing. Because of the way this map is sculpted, everything sort of funnels into the center. So the outer edges and up on the cliff top and just that general area, it all feels really empty, and it also feels quite small as well. You don't really have that much space. I mean, most of you will remember the first mod, there was a health crate on mission 6 that you couldn't actually collect because I placed it outside of the playable area, so the invisible wall was blocking the player collecting it. And yeah, it's just very difficult to try and do anything else on the outer edges of the map. And all in all, this map doesn't feel lazy to me. It was just a really tough thing to concept and try and get right in the end. On to mission 7 then, called End Transmission, and this follows exactly the same concept as the vanilla campaign, in that on this mission it is your job to destroy the enemy's main intelligence HQ. And yeah, this was another one that was proving to be quite difficult because of the resources available. The main area where the pillboxes are kind of stays the same. I just wanted to make it look a little bit different. Put the pillbox in there, put some shelters in there primarily, and switch that about, but also increase the level of difficulty in that there are, of course, engineers around, there's heavy weapons, and you only have 2 pigs at your disposal. So it all comes down once again to how exactly are you going to pair up your pigs. Do you go with the heavy weapons and a sniper? Do you chuck a medic in there to do some healing? It's all a bit tricky, but as the briefing screen does hint at, there are areas that are pretty good for sniping, so maybe if you do go with an espionage, that could be a good place to stand, unless you're me, in which case you get hit by something and end up sliding off and dying. That's always fun.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you.
There are dozens of other ways I could have approached this mission in terms of its layout, design and concept, but ultimately I ended up going with the same kind of thing because, yes, I could have, laid it out differently. But the three main ingredients I have on Mission 7 are pillboxes, shelters, and trees. And, there are some radar towers that I can chuck around as well. Those are the main objects that you'll find on this map, but it's difficult to stray away from that HQ, communication breakdown style concept. Personally, I think this mission falls flat on the fact that I went with the meta layout in that the pillboxes and shelters can be found in the same place. The pigs are generally in the same locations, so the layout doesn't really differ too much from the original campaign. And yeah, I don't know, I don't want to call it lazy, but it just needs a bit more work. And you will see that in Pins Mod version 3.0, but that is currently in the works. On to Mission 8 then, and we have the spying game, which is exactly the same as the original vanilla campaign, and that is because Mission 8 and Mission 3 can't actually be edited due to Sony's PS1 protection copyright thingy. So during Hogs of War's development, there were two maps that I've just mentioned, Mission 3 and Mission 8, that were selected to have this special protection in that if you try and edit it, then the game will crash. It won't load when it tries to load the level. For me, it's annoying just because, obviously, I can't edit Mission 8, and the fact that with every mod I release, there will always be one mission that won't be able to be changed and will remain vanilla, which is annoying because it's kind of like a tainted mission in a way, in that it always remains the same. Considering how complicated this game can be to mod, I find myself quite lucky that it's only 1 out of 25 missions that has this issue. On to Mission 9 then, which is called Seek and Destroy. Here you face up against 6 enemies and you have 3 pigs on your team. Originally this was intended to be a solo only mission where I was going to give the player like a single tank and you'd have to roll into town, collect crates and everything and kill everybody as you go. But unfortunately, considering how the editor is and not being able to add in new objects that don't exist in the level already, it is what it is. But I tried to do as much as I could in relation to the whole creating a town concept, creating that sort of feeling that the area where the enemy is, that used to be somewhere that people would live, and relating that back to civilians, and actually putting some life into this mission and this map specifically, because there's this map is broken down into 4 sections. You have the high ground, where the shelters are. You have the low ground where the main buildings and the enemy is. You have the minefield, which kind of houses a single gunner, I believe, who's hiding in a tent. And then you have the watery area. I think looking back, I probably shouldn't have put one of the players' pigs in the center island in the middle of the water, because you do take damage having to swim off that island. You take, I think, 20 damage if you time it right. But you can obviously take more if your swimming isn't so good. So yeah, maybe I should have moved in from there. But yeah, I don't know. This was probably one of my more favorite missions to make because of that idea of creating a town. I was limited with the amount of resources I had. Obviously, I moved the building that was originally in the center of the minefield over into the open space and basically tried to do my best in making the rest of the buildings. And obviously that was limited by this mission and how much memory it has, because originally I had more buildings, but when I started the level it did load, but when I went to shoot when I went to shoot an enemy, the game would crash. The idea of creating towns and cities runs through the heart of this mod. I was looking at every single mission and being like, right, where can I make it feel more alive? Like, you look at Mission 9, you look at Mission 23, those ones hint at places where cities used to be, or at least, because of the war, things going on, things being blown up, buildings not existing as they used to be. And I mean, if you look at Mission 9 and Mission 23, the original ones, they are quite open. There isn't much going on. There's just a lot of open landscape, and that kind of gave me the drawing board, I guess, to create these kinds of things. And finally, we have the last mission, Mission 10, which is Rogue Outpost. Again, you're facing up against 6 enemies, and you only have 2 this time. The overall concept of this one is that you have captured the last remaining outpost on Saustralia, but you've also received reports of incoming attacks from the enemy. And the enemy that you are facing is no ordinary enemy unit, as despite the odds against them, these pigs have disobeyed orders to retreat, and yeah, it's your job to take them out. In concept it sounds good, but the overall outcome was probably quite weak in comparison to other missions, primarily because the player has such a huge advantage with the artillery, with the high ground, and I gave you too many crates, too many health crates, too many weapon crates. I went over the top with it, and overall I think it's too easy on both normal and hard mode, because you have a pyrotechnic, an engineer, a spy, a surgeon, and a scout. And I think, the scout could have been boosted to a sniper. The surgeon and the engineer are a bit useless because you have the high ground, they can't shoot you. They can throw grenades, they can throw shrapnel, but unless you decide to go down onto the low ground, they are completely useless, which leaves you with a spy that will usually either hide completely for the rest of the game or just barely do anything, and a pyrotechnic, which if you kill first, means that the rest of the level is pretty easy to complete. There isn't much else to say about Mission 10 because overall its design, sculpting wise and objects are all the same as they normally would be. So it was just trying to put a twist on how that could go. But overall, yeah, I think Mission 10 is probably the weakest of the bunch in Saustralia. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below on this dev commentary. What do you think of the missions on Saustralia? And I hope you can join me for the next island on Trotsville, where we go through missions 11 to 15. Plenty more to discuss in these commentaries. I hope you can join me then. And in the meantime, I will catch you guys later for the next one.
Cause you did what you say, that it's all for the best, cause it is.
Right, you putrid porker. You should be proud of your hogs. I've given you, 5 additional promotion points to decorate them with. Are you listening to a word I say? Repeat after me. Minefields are very bad things to wander into. Now, press your button and we will be the richest nation in the world. Just imagine, limitless swill supplies until the end of all time. Oh, God, don't mess it up.